Hi everyone, it's Canadian Philippines here at beautiful Silliman Beach in Dumaguete, Negros Oriental. By the end of this video, you're going to know how much it'll cost to live and retire like a king in the Philippines on your budget. We'll cover how, depending on your lifestyle choices, you can live like a king in the Philippines on US dollar budgets of $500, $1,000, $2,500, and $4,000. I want you to know the reality of budgeting here because there's a lot of false information out there. We will dive into this question and you will be able to answer how much you need in the Philippines so you can live like a king in your retirement. To be clear, I purposely use the words you and your, as there are many individual choices in this process, and the final answer will be different depending on the choices that you make. But first, I promise you, this will not be your typical retirement budget video. I conducted a poll on my YouTube channel asking people how much they live on or hope to budget for their retirement. Here are the answers. 15% said $500 US, 30% said $1,000, 38% said $2,500, 10% said $4,000, and 8% said over $4,000. Living in many countries on a tight budget can be very difficult. But in the Philippines and other similar countries, it is possible as many residents live on very low budgets. In fact, except for the $500 US budget, many live on much lower budgets. Many expats leave their home country for a better quality life on their retirement budget. I could have retired almost anywhere in the world in 2018, but I picked the Philippines. And if you're watching this video, I suspect that you are also considering this. Let's try to keep the comments and discussion on topic. No need, like in the last budget video that I did, where one guy commented Thailand was the best place to retire, not the Philippines. And he said he knew this was true because his Filipina wife agreed with him. On the positive side, I got a great laugh, thinking that his wife might say to him, "Yes, Mahal, you're so smart. Thailand is way better than the Philippines." Also in this budget video, I'm not saying aim for the lowest cost of retirement. I don't do it, nor would I recommend you do it. But if that is your goal, no judgment. Let's not have judgment on people's choices. We all have different budgets and different reasons for the choices we make. First, keep in mind, the budget numbers do not mean your total retirement income. Your retirement income should be greater than your budget. In my first budget video, I noted you should have a backup or nest egg for unexpected expenses, and that is where this would come in. And to create this nest egg, you're going to have a retirement income greater than your retirement budget. Don't say, obviously, Sherlock. I can hear some of you saying that. Someone also wisely commented, the budget numbers are monthly estimates after you settle in your location. Your costs upon arrival will be much higher getting established. How much more your settlement number will be will depend on the choices you make. One excellent example is renting a furnished apartment over an unfurnished apartment. Obviously, renting a furnished apartment, you're going to have much lower settlement costs. Thanks again to all those who commented on the first budget video, people who shared how they met their budget in the Philippines. That should be the goal for everyone. Find a location and set your budget so that you can be comfortable and live happy in your retirement. For example, I noted in the first budget video, I moved to a low-cost beach cottage in 2019 after leaving Manila. I'm glad I tried it, but after 6 months, I realized it wasn't for me. And hopefully, one day I'll end up back on the beach, but in a nicer situation. And what does that mean? You got it, a higher budget. To be clear, in this video, living like a king in your retirement will be an individual choice for each of you. Your magic number may be $500 or $4,000 or somewhere in between. All are possible. But as you can likely guess without me telling you, the variety of budgets will result in different lifestyles. This wide range of living expenses will give you very different lifestyles. It's something that you have to choose that you're comfortable with. Your king number will be different from mine and will be different from the guy you're sitting next to on your flight over here. And obviously, it could be very different from the guys putting out retirement videos, sitting on their couch and explaining their cost of living after so many years in the Philippines. Have you seen the videos saying they can live on $500 a month? To get to that budget number and maintain it, you have to have special discipline, and I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to, go for it. To try to make it a bit clearer in this video, let's take a different approach. Did you see the plane behind me? As I mentioned, some guys film their videos from their couch. Maybe there's a reason for that, less distraction. In this video, I'm going to show you how a monthly budget breaks down. Then I'm going to give you 4 different budgets for the numbers that I mentioned. From that point, it'll be up to you to decide whether you can live within one of those budgets. Or you can always just use it as a frame of reference and modify it to suit your needs. As I said in the first video, some of you are going to have a higher number, some of you have a lower number, and the categories may be different. It's all up to personal choices you make. No judgment, even if your goal is to try to live on $500. But if that is your goal, I have a special tip for you. Try to save at least that amount for costs that arise. In other words, if your goal is to have a $500 budget, at least have a $1,000 retirement income. After I set out these 4 budget examples, you will have a clearer picture of what it's going to take for you to retire and live like a king in the Philippines. Only then will you be able to decide whether you can live within those budgets. Or, as I said, modify some of the expenses. If you find that a certain category is high for your liking, you can reduce that number for your budget and add that number to another category to have more resources, or simply cut it out and lower your monthly budget. Like I said, it's all up to you. The cost of living can vary across this beautiful country, from the bustling streets of Manila to the stunning beaches of far-off islands. So the question is, how do people manage to make ends meet with various budgets? Let's find out. Housing, transportation, and other essentials can quickly add up. Rent alone can take a big chunk out of your planned budget, and that number can be large, especially in the bigger cities. And then of course we have to eat, some more and better than others. Food costs can really sneak up on you if you're not careful. Expenses can be high in each category depending on the choices you make. But fear not, there are ways to plan your budget so that you can fit within a number that's comfortable for you. I did a recent poll on my channel and asked people what was the top expense in their budget. What do you think it is? 68% said housing, 9% said food, 5% said transportation, 9% healthcare, 9% utilities and communication. So let's start with housing. First, if it's not already clear to you, my advice for anyone arriving is rent a furnished apartment when you arrive. Do not buy a condo by yourself or land and house in the name of your Filipina if you already have one. First, it's better to get settled and find a budget that suits you. You may choose to rent for your whole retirement, or after a while, decide that you'd rather purchase. For example, in my 4th year here in 2022, we bought a house for 3 million pesos plus 1 million closing costs, taxes, and renovations. So since May 2022, we haven't paid rent. I can hear some of you already saying, but wait, of course you've paid rent. You just paid it in advance with your purchase. That's very true. That 4 million pesos would have paid for a nice beach place for many years. Stand by, we have another jet coming in. Let's go. Wow, that was a good distraction. Had the Cebu Pacific flight land and now just had a PAL flight land, both coming from Manila. So if you just arrived, welcome to Negros Oriental. Enjoy your stay. I was discussing about holding off the buying. One thing by not buying, it allows you to also explore other areas of the Philippines so that you can see more options. I agree, buying versus renting, it's something to really consider. It's something that you actually go back and forth on over time. Obviously, it comes down to choices we make. One thing though is I'm very comfortable with the cost and the house that we have. We found it with the help of a certified realtor. If anyone wants that, I can pass his name on to you. An excellent choice for navigating a real estate market in the Philippines. But whatever you do, make sure you use a certified real estate agent. There's many Facebook fakers who aren't agents, so be careful out there. The other point to consider about not buying right away is, like me, you may end up on a different island. I'm thankful I didn't buy in Metro Manila. Not that I could have or had the budget for doing that anyways. In the last 6 years, I lived in 5 different places and explored 2 more when I was looking at leaving Manila. To stay within your Target King budget, I highly recommend you checking out province lifestyle outside of Metro Manila. Someone pointed out in the first video that this was false information. Believe me, I've been here for 6 years. I know expats who've been here for over 20 years. There's a reason that many of them choose to be outside Metro Manila, in the provinces. That doesn't mean you have to be on a remote island where you have to take a ferry and then a flight, or a flight to Manila. There are many great places around Luzon that you can drive to Metro Manila if that's something that's important to you. As a few people commented, they're looking at La Union area, which is a very nice area in the Philippines. Here are some examples of housing that still stay within your budget. These are just samples. There are examples like this on many islands across the Philippines. Everything from renting a low-cost native hut, renting townhomes, apartments. There's even fancier native huts. There's condos. Many of the bigger cities have condo projects. Dumaguete has one large condo project and more are being built. If you want to spend a bit more, you can get a nice beach house. Finally, as an example, here's the condo I rented when I was in Manila. And note, at this one, for the 1 to 2 week prices, it includes electricity, water, cable, TV, and unlimited Wi-Fi. But for the monthly prices, these items are not included, so the monthly price will be higher, and all prices do not include VAT, which is the value added tax. So you need to add an additional 12% to each posted monthly rent. I looked at the 2-bedroom deluxe when I was living there. It was very nice. It even included maid's quarters off the kitchen, but this was way out of my budget. So that's it for housing. As I said, these are just a few samples, and there are options like this all over the Philippines. You guys going here? Going there? Let's go. You ready? Oi. It's my exercise for the day. Hey? What time did you start today? 4 a.m. 4 a.m. Wow. I was still sleeping. Wala sa pa yan. Enjoy your Easter. Umping. That's a long adventure for such a small catch, but that'll give them a free lunch for today. And that fits nicely with our next category, groceries and eating out. In this video, I combined the 2 categories from the previous video into one category. It's like housing, this category is completely within the choices you make. Everyone has to eat. Everyone has to eat. Some will eat well and some will eat less well. Some of you will decide to eat everything outside, and others will cook. I like a mixture. Some swear that diving into the local street scene can be both delicious and budget friendly. In fact, a few commented on this in my first video, saying that my food budget items were too high. I agree it's possible to get cheaper items on the street, but to the extent that you do this will depend on your sense of adventure and your stomach, and I highly recommend you be picky where you choose to eat. In fact, I know one expat who bought a condo in Metro Manila and has decided not to put a kitchen in at all, as he said he's going to eat everything outside on the streets. I would not recommend this at all. Maybe it's good for your budget. I don't think it's so good for your health because you're not controlling what goes into your dishes. Nice to make a dish at home once in a while. If you don't put a kitchen in your condo, it's going to negatively impact the renting ability of that condo as well as resale. My main tip for you after arriving and finding your place to live is to get out and explore your neighborhood. You're going to find great little spots in your neighborhood where you'd like to get takeout or sit in and enjoy a meal, as well as cooking simple meals in your rental. That reminds me, when you're picking your rental, make sure it has at least a small fridge and a kitchen of some type. To keep your budget low, don't spend all of your money in the department store, big box grocery stores. I go there for some items, but it's generally more expensive than buying it elsewhere. For most places that you rent, you'll be able to find within walking distance places that sell fruit, vegetables, even meats, chickens and fish. Make sure you buy your meats in the early morning and your fish in the early afternoon when it comes off the boat, because most of these places won't have refrigeration. As I mentioned, I shop at the big box stores, but not for fruit or vegetables. For example, mangoes will be 300 pesos a kilo, and you can get them at many places for 100 pesos or less. There are roadside stands of fruits and vegetables all over the Philippines. And with that mango example, not only are the mangoes 3 times the cost, the quality is not even close. On Sundays, for example, this past Sunday, I went to the Valencia Public Market to get fruits and vegetables. I then went to Robinson Place, but I was early. They don't open till 9 o'clock, and the guard told me to go downtown, the Robinson Place, and Lee Plaza open at 8 o'clock. So I went to Lee Plaza and got my other groceries. Finally, I stopped at my favorite fruit and vegetable stand, picked up a fruit cocktail drink that they sell for 50 pesos for 500 ml. A great buy and very fresh. To help you cook like a local pro, there are many online resources. One that I use is kawalingpinoy.com. I'll put the address on the screen. I even used this when I was living in Canada. After my first visit to the Philippines, I was trying to make my own Filipino dishes. Every Filipino dish is on there, and with easy step-by-step instructions. My favorite thing to make is chicken adobo. It's got a detailed recipe, including tips. When you add the vinegar during the cooking process, make sure you bring it to a boil for a few minutes so it cooks off that vinegar. That's a pro tip that'll make your dish come out tasting lami or masarap, and you'll really impress your Filipino friends. And if you're lucky and find a nice Filipina companion, you can cook together. And by the way, adding a +1 without any extra attachments does not change your overall budget cost that much. However, when I say +1, I mean +1 without dependence. Any +1 with dependence will make a bigger hit on your budget. We all make choices, so make smart choices when you come to the Philippines. Let's be honest about eating. If you're like me, I enjoy cooking, but you don't want to cook and eat all the time at home. Nor should you. You need to explore the local dining culture. There'll be local roadside canderias, food stalls, and restaurants, all selling prepared meals. When I first went to Siargao Island in 2019, I was looking at a place to live after leaving Manila. My first 5 days, I stayed in a much more expensive area of General Luna, the popular tourist area. But I got tired of that and moved up island to Pacifico and lived more like a local, which was fantastic. The daily cost that I was spending in General Luna covered 3 days living in Pacifico. I was able to eat 3 tasty meals for the cost of 1 fancy meal in General Luna. I remember one roadside eatery was my favorite. It was named after 2 NBA All-Stars. In case you don't know, the NBA and basketball in general is very popular throughout the Philippines. The eatery is called LeBron James and Dwayne Wade Tapishan. A fun fact is the owners named their eatery after LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. They're 2 boys, not the NBA All-Stars. There are places like this all across the Philippines where people take pride in cooking healthy meals at good value. You just need to find them. This will give you a tasty variety of dishes for a few dollars, and then combine that with fresh fruit and vegetables that you have at home and making your own simple meals. You'll never have to worry about having healthy, quality food in the Philippines. We have a few spots like this near our house in Silliman. I'll grab takeout once in a while when I'm going by. The next category is utilities: water, electric, garbage pickup. Some rental options may include all utilities or part, so clarify that when you're negotiating your rent. Some units will also be on their own meter, or it'll be on a shared meter. This is something you need to clarify. When I rented the beachfront cottage in 2019, it was shared with the owner's house, and he gave me a off the top of his head estimate of what he thought my electricity was. Let's just say that's not an ideal situation. Municipal water. Some places have the pump jack. You know the pump jack, like in the old days in Canada on the farm? Not that I'm a farmer, but my relatives were. We have a pump jack like that in our compound in Silliman, but the water doesn't look that great and I don't want to spend any money servicing that well. Many places will be on municipal water. Your municipal water bill will vary anywhere from 200 to 1,000 pesos. For our house, we're in the 800 peso range. When I was single and starting out, living in small apartments, it was at the low range of this estimate. Drinking water. I don't know about where you live, but in the Philippines, they don't recommend you drink the water unless you have a water filtration system. Most people have the 20-liter jugs, and they'll go to a water station. They're everywhere. I think we have 5 within a few minutes of our residence. You can either go there yourself, or with a text or phone call, they'll come and bring you the water. In the province, you're looking at 15 to 20 pesos. In Manila, when I was in BGC, it was 35 pesos. You can estimate spending from 100 to 300 pesos a month on drinking water. The delivery option adds 5 pesos to the cost. I've never used it. I like the outing, just going out and getting the water myself. Electricity. For some reason, this raised a lot of comments, people debating cost of electricity. Of course, you can have a very low number. You don't have to turn lights on, you don't have to have appliances, you don't have to run air conditioner. You could live in the mountains, for example. You don't even need a fan in the mountains. This number will vary greatly. For most people, a low of 1,000 pesos up to 10,000 plus pesos. And most of this will vary depending on how much air conditioning you use and how many appliances you have. For example, our house electric bill is normally in the range of 3,000 to 4,000. Our last bill, which I got a few days ago, was 4,888 pesos, and that was for 534 kilowatt hours. I know people living in our area who are consistently over 10,000 pesos a month. In Metro Manila, I know people who have a swimming pool where their electric bill is 80,000 pesos a month, and they're running their air conditioner all the time. Again, when I was single and renting small furnished places, this number was very low. Our house we currently have has 4 air conditioners, unfortunately not the efficient inverter style, so they cost more to operate. But for the most part, we're using fans all the time, depending on which room we're in, and occasionally I'll be running the AC in the master bedroom. We have 2 full-size refrigerators, the Samsung Bespoke model, which allows one to be a refrigerator and one to be a freezer. I'd like to have a well-stocked refrigerator. Some may say I should cut that back. Keep your comments nice. Yeah. Anyways, we also have a convection oven, a microwave oven, electric toaster. We have electric kettle and all the little gadgets that you can think of. We also have 4 televisions, something you definitely don't need in the Philippines. For the first few years, my rentals included a small television. We have a 660-liter water tank, so we have an electric motor that runs the pump that gives us water pressure in the house that's similar to North America. That's something you don't get from the municipal water on its own. One other thing we have is that we have an electric washing machine. Cooking gas. Gas is used for cooking, and we refill our 11-kilogram tank probably about every 3 months. In fact, it ran out yesterday. We also have a 5-kilogram tank as a reserve. Once that ran out yesterday, when the gas place was closed, we put on the 5-kilo tank, and then we're able to keep cooking. Today, I'll fill up that 11-kilo tank and that's just over 1,000 pesos. It used to be under 1,000 pesos, now it's just over 1,000 pesos. And then when I get home, I'll switch that back to the bigger tank and keep the reserve for when it runs out next time. I like doing it myself, same as the water, it's a little outing for me. You can call and text the gas companies and they will deliver it to your house directly. In the mountains, we mostly use coconut shells and coconut branches for cooking using fire, but we also have a 11 kilo gas tank that lasts a long time because it's not used as often. Garbage pickup, it varies throughout the Philippines. In our subdivision, we have garbage pickup 6 days per week. 3 are wet, which would be vegetation and foods, and the other is recycling and regular garbage. The cost is 60 pesos a month, paid once a year. Other people I know in the subdivision don't want to separate their garbage, so they pay for someone else to come and pick it up. They need to do that every couple days. That's a much higher budget item than ours. Paying someone to pick up your garbage could be as high as 800 pesos a month, but for some, it's much more convenient. Rather than a 4 a.m. pickup, they're having it during the day. Zero cost way, which many people do here, is burning. Even our neighbors within the subdivision, some of them burn, and even them burn plastics. Unfortunately, we can smell that. When I lived in the fancy BGC condo, garbage was simply a matter of going to the hallway stairwell near the elevator and dropping the garbage into a garbage chute. Now let's jump into telecommunication costs. Start with cell phone. Someone commented in my first budget video that I magically jumped from 200 pesos to 999. They clearly did not watch the video, as this was set out in the video, and I'll set it out here as well. It's very simple in the Philippines. There are 2 options, prepaid and postpaid option, and I'll cover both. Prepaid is the cheapest option, and it's one that most locals use. You just load your phone with value, and as you use it, you deplete it. And then, when needed, you reload the phone. Obviously, the cost of this will vary depending on your usage. And as far as reloading, you can do this at many locations and even do it yourself if you have an e-wallet. As I mentioned, the load is reduced as you use the phone. That's based on charges, depending on what you do. For example, check out the screen here. A globe to globe call is 6.5 pesos. A globe to TM or other companies, landlines nationwide is 7.5 pesos. An interesting thing here in the Philippines is not all phones can call to all other phones. Let me explain that. If you're a globe customer, depending on your package, you may not be able to call to a smart customer. So you'll see businesses often posting a globe number and a smart number so that customers can call them at the lowest option. Local video calls are 6.5 pesos per minute. Texting is cheap, 1 peso, good value. International worldwide direct calls are 40 cents US per minute. The other payment system is postpaid. This is what I do. You pay 1 time a month and I can bill it to my credit card, so it's an automatic charge. Oh, here comes the PAL flight. Where was I? Just had the PAL flight take off. Postpaid is what I use. It's a payment 1 time per month, and you can do an automatic charge to your credit card. Depending on the package you pick, you'll get varied data levels, but they all include unlimited calling and texting to all the plans. So you're not limited like in the prepaid. Just check out the screen for the options. Globe, for example, has a 599 peso 6 gig plan, 799 for 10 gig. My plan that I use is 999 for 20 gig. I've had great value with this plan. I've never gone above 20 gig, but there's a few other options for you. As you can see on the screen, there's other options from 1299 for 30 gig to 2499 for 100 gig. And then one that's a 5G plan for unlimited for $37.99. But before you sign up for that, obviously make sure that the area you're in has good 5G coverage. Otherwise, it's not worth that cost. Home internet. Just like the cell phones, home internet comes in 2 plans, prepaid and postpaid. But now there's a third competitor. Starlink is now available in the Philippines and is a great option. Prepaid Wi-Fi. Check out the screen. Globe's lowest is $199 for 7 days, and that's at 50 Mbps speed. They also have unlimited internet plans. The cheapest for both Globe and PLDT is $1,699, and that's at 20 Mbps. The postpaid plans are where you get into more speed and unlimited usage. The one that we use at our house is $21.99 for Globe, and that gives us 400 Mbps, high definition, and we've had great experience with this plan, great service. I did have PLDT before. Where we live, it wasn't great service at all, lots of outages, not reliable. I was paying for 300 Mbps, but I was getting in the 10 range, if you can believe it. So nothing close to 300, not even close to 100 in fact. So make sure you check out the area where you're in, which company actually provides the best. Globe's other plans include $26.99 for 600 MPS, up to $74.99 for 1.5 gigabytes per second. But that would be for a modern connected home. So check out the levels, the different values, and see which one is right for your area and for your residence. Starlink has been available since 2023. After the initial outlay, where you have to buy the hardware, it's 29,320 pesos currently, but they often have specials. In fact, we got ours in 2024 for 18,000 pesos. The monthly cost is 2,700 pesos. That's for unlimited internet at high speeds. They also have a roam package for 3,100 pesos, which allows you to take your Starlink anywhere in the Philippines. And they have more expensive packages for going to other countries, and as well as a worldwide package if you're really into exploring. For us, it's been amazing up in the mountains. We went from having 0 cell signal, and we got an estimate from one of the local companies. The hardware cost was the same as, if not a bit more than the Before Starlink came, we got an estimate from one of the local companies. The cost to install the Wi-Fi up in the mountains was more than the Starlink package. And the monthly cost was similar, but the speed was only 5 Mbps. So I'm glad we waited for the Starlink. It's been fantastic going from no cell signal to now having high-speed internet in the mountains. What a change. It's time for me to relocate. I'm getting too much sun here. I can feel it on my face, even though I'm wearing my floral bucket hat that someone complained about. Mon ami de France said he'll buy me a drink when he comes to Dumaguete. He bugged me about my bucket hat, but I'm glad he still watched the video. So I'm going to relocate to our native house back at the house, sit in the shade, have some cold drink, and continue this video. I hope you're liking it so far. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe. I hope you're getting some value, and make sure you comment, share your experiences, and any tips you may have for others. Let me relocate and we'll continue this video. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Hi everybody. I had a bit too much sun, so I stopped filming yesterday at Silliman Beach. I tried to film at home in our native house, but last evening too much noise with kids playing on the street and dogs barking and a chainsaw. So I decided to relocate this morning, and I'm here. Got beautiful Siargao Island in the background. I'm actually at the beach where the new Philinvest condo development is coming up. I put a few videos on that. Looks like a nice piece of property. They have a beautiful beach here. It's rare in the Dumaguete area to have a nice beach like this. So it's quiet, except I can hear some fishing boats in the background, but much quieter than the airport. So I hope this works out, and I hope you're having a great day. It's just before 6 a.m. on Tuesday, July 2nd. Here in the Philippines. The next category that is easy for you to keep low for your budget when you start living here in the Philippines is transportation. In the previous budget video, I completely left out this item. However, in this video, I've added in the month-to-month costs. For example, public transportation options for lower budgets. And for higher budget options, I've included gas and insurance. Obviously, these are estimates. It'll depend on the cost of your vehicle for your insurance and which insurance you go for, mandatory or private. But I haven't included the cost of vehicle, as this is completely unknown and it's up to you how much you spend. When you first arrive in the Philippines, try to use public transportation instead of buying your own. However, depending where you pick to live, public transportation may be non-existent, or you may have a wide variety of choices. Hopefully where you decide to live will have some decent choices, and you can always walk and get some exercise. Public transportation is cheap in the Philippines. It varies between trains, buses, jeepneys, trikes, motorbikes, and in bigger centers, taxis. This will significantly cut down your initial transportation cost, as buying transportation is expensive in the Philippines. When I was single and starting out here in 2018, my transportation costs were very low because I had no vehicle. I also walked many places, but relied on bus, jeepney, and trike. For example, I didn't buy my used Honda Civic. It was a 2011, and I bought it in 2019, 15 months after arriving in the Philippines. When you're on foot and having someone drive you around on public transportation, you can actually pay attention and learn your area much quicker. And of course, the bonus of keeping your costs down. And when you are ready to buy something, try to find a quality used vehicle. As I mentioned in an earlier video, you're going to want to pay cash for items like these. Another reason not to do it when you're first starting out, as you'll have relocation expenses. As I mentioned before, you'll want to pay cash for this purchase. Another reason not to do it in the start, because the cost of borrowing in the Philippines will double this cost in a 2-year payment plan. Do not do this. The vehicle you choose is an individual choice, obviously, but expect to pay double the cost that you would in your home country. My 2011 Honda Civic would be around $6,000 in Canada right now, but it's selling for 528,000 pesos in the Philippines. That's 9,000 US or Canadian 12,400. So more than double the Canadian price. Please note that that price I just gave, the 528,000, is for prices in Metro Manila. I noticed when I was looking online in the provinces, the prices for similar vehicles were up to 100,000 pesos more expensive. In 2019, I paid 430,000 for this used vehicle in Metro Manila. And as I mentioned, now it's up to 528,000. I decided to try with the hat off as it's very humid out right now, early morning. The next category is miscellaneous. Entertainment. The cost of this budget item will vary with whatever your interests are. Remember, you're going to have time in your retirement, so you'll have lots of options. These things include tourist activities in your local area, island hopping, exploring more of the Philippines, exploring other Asian locations. Drinking is a popular one in the Philippines. Movie theater, Netflix, tennis. A friend of mine wants to come here and play pickleball. Golf, it's up to you. What's your favorite? Lots of options in the Philippines. The next miscellaneous item, international phone number. My experience when I first came to the Philippines, I kept my Canadian cell phone and paid my monthly bill, even though I was hardly using it. I was just basically keeping my number so I could have it for banks and government and family and friends. But when I came to the Philippines and saw what I was getting for my value, it was hard to justify keeping this expensive Canadian phone, so I looked for other options. At the time, I had been using Magic Jack before. I also used Viber. But the last 2 years, I've been using OpenPhone. It's an app that's available on your laptop, your phone, both on iPhone and Android. What it does, it gives you a Canadian or US phone number. There are many similar companies. Just Google your country and VoIP, and you'll find companies that will offer you a similar number at a low cost. I have given this number to banks, governments, friends and family. Anyone can call and text me on this local number, and I will receive the message or call wherever I am in the world. Not just the Philippines, as long as I have an internet connection. The other thing it has when I'm not available to pick up is it has voicemail. So I'd highly recommend that you look into this. OpenPhone is a great app to use. And I don't get anything from them. It's just my personal choice. Visa. Tourist visa averages out to about $10 a month. For example, you can get a $30 visa, which will give you 90 days. You can also get a $60 visa for 188 days. Note, I briefly cover off the SRRV, Special Resident Retiree Visa, in the not included category. The ongoing cost of this is $30 a month, as it's a $360 US one-time payment annually. Having a helper. A lot of people have helpers in the Philippines. You'll note in the $500 budget, I didn't include this, as this would not be an item to include in your budget if your goal is to spend $500 a month. A live-out helper. In the $1,000 category, I included a live-out helper. I budgeted it at 3 times a week, 300 pesos per day in the province, a bit more in the bigger cities. Live-in helper, I added that to the last 2 budgets. 6,000 is a good starting rate if you're in the province, and higher if you're in Manila. I know people who are paying 10 to 15,000 in Manila. If you're not going to have a helper, having a Filipina friend is a good option and doesn't increase the cost of your budget too much. Note also that the live-in helper is a +1 with the increased cost of your other budget items such as food, electric, water, and the space that you're going to need. I know one expat who arrived and immediately started dating a Filipina who worked as a helper. Once she moved in with him, she didn't want to be a helper, and they ended up hiring her friend, who then became a live-in helper. So then he was a +2. Shortly thereafter, he moved into a house, and her 5 kids joined them. So now instead of him and a +1, it was him, a +1, a helper, and 5 kids. So now he had 8 months to feed on his retirement budget. What do you think? Obviously, don't do this. It's not a good way to spend your retirement money. Remember, we all make our own choices. We're adults. Don't let this happen to you. It's going to give you a negative experience in the Philippines. I've got some things that aren't included, as I note on the charts, as you'll see. Not included in the 4 budgets. The main one is healthcare. These costs, which depend largely on your choices and lifestyle. But also, let's just say, sometimes crap happens. What is a safe number for you? I have no idea. Some of you will be healthy and have no or low expenses, but most of us will have something come up in their life. So it's important to have a backup or nest egg, as I mentioned in my first video. So you're going to need to have some savings to cover off these unanticipated costs. As one astute person commented, these are monthly budgets. They should not equal your monthly income. You should be having a higher monthly income and don't be spending all your money on your monthly budget. But let's be clear, your health issues will not likely be any different than they would be in your home country. They might even be better here if you're living a healthier, more relaxing lifestyle. You need to plan for and budget something for healthcare. But don't let this be a factor that you stay at home in your basement worrying about healthcare. My personal example, someone asked why I had so many tattoos. They wondered how much jail time I did. In fact, got tattoos, well, personal choice, but also I was covering up some scars. In Canada, I've had 2 open heart surgeries, stomach surgery, cancer surgery, which left me quite a large, nasty scar, 2 back surgeries 18 years apart, and I'll likely need another heart surgery or cancer surgery. But that didn't stop me from coming here and enjoying my last 6 years, and nor should it stop you. Some of you will choose to go with your expat health insurance. I have not done this. You should get a quote, but don't feel pressure to get this. And after the quote, do not sign anything. Take some time to reflect on your options. Also, once you sign and pay, there's a waiting period that depends on the health issue, where you cannot make a claim until the time period expires. Of course, in filling out the application, just like at your home country, you have to be fully honest with any insurance company, identifying any pre-existing conditions, medications you take, etc., so that they can assess your risk properly and charge you accordingly. And if you don't do this, you likely won't be covered and your claim will be denied in the future. Also, check with your insurance back in your home country if that's something you have. Some will let you stay out of the country for a certain period of time. One person commented that they're allowed to stay up to 6 months, so that's great for them if they want to do 6 months in their home country and 6 months here. Another option, besides the expat insurance, which can be quite costly, especially with someone like me, who has many pre-existing conditions and on medications. Another option is pay-as-you-go. That's funding your own health care. SRRV holders, the visa holders, can mix pay-as-you-go and PhilHealth. You're able to get PhilHealth for a fee of 15,000 pesos per year. Some of you will choose to go with expat health insurance. I did pay-as-you-go until after I joined the SRRV program and got PhilHealth. So now I mix PhilHealth and pay-as-you-go for anything that's not covered by PhilHealth. I covered off a couple examples in the previous budget video, and I'm very happy with the care I get in the Philippines. No waiting and no referrals like there are in Canada. And the cost is very low compared to other countries. You may find that some expat insurance companies may not tell you the whole truth when they're explaining the cost of medical care in the Philippines. I've seen an expat health expert say online that the cost of St. Luke's BGC is comparable to the USA. So that's why it was important to get his product and you'd be able to attend that hospital covered by his company. This is a complete fabrication. But don't believe me, check out that gold standard in the Philippines. St. Luke's has 2 hospitals, one in BGC, in Metro Manila, and also in Quezon City. Online, they clearly set out various medical procedures and the cost in different countries. There is a reason that they are a destination medical hospital. Tourists come there for medical procedures. This is similar to the Bumrungrad International Hospital in Bangkok. I've used both Bumrungrad International Hospital and St. Luke's BGC and have received amazing medical care. Here in Negros Oriental, I have received excellent care from Negros Polymedic Hospital and ACE Hospital. Just a brief comment about the healthcare I covered off in my previous budget video. I've had excellent healthcare in the Philippines. I see many people complaining on the expat chat groups. I think these people have forgotten how bad healthcare is in their home country. I've seen many news stories about problems in Canada, United States, and Europe. As I mentioned, I've had amazing medical experience here, direct access to doctors, low cost, also direct access to specialists, again, low cost. Doctors, you can expect to pay 500 pesos for a visit, a specialist approximately 800 pesos. No waiting and direct access to any testing right after your appointment. I've never had to wait in the Philippines. Let's jump to the next not included item, transportation purchase. The initial outlay or cost of transportation, such as buying a scooter, motorcycle, car, or truck, is not included in my budget because this is a very individual choice. Some of you may choose to have nothing, like I did. I relied on walking and public transportation, and trust me, my belly knows the difference. For the first few years, I was very slim. I was walking up to 10 kilometers a day and getting to know the neighborhoods where I lived. And if you're trying to be in the $500 per month category, you need to do this. Others may choose to buy, but as I said, pay cash. Otherwise, your outlay will double over 2 years. Here are some examples of what you can expect to pay. Scooter, 35,000 for used. I know people who bought some good used ones. Often here in the Philippines, someone can't make the payment, so there'll be a used scooter available. So scooters, 35,000 for used, up to 150 and even higher, depending on the model. We bought a Honda Click for 72,000. Motorcycle, 50,000 to 900,000 if you're getting into the fancy models. We bought a small multi-cab, 4x4. They run from 250 to 500,000 depending on your bells and whistles. Lindy, my wife, has one and she loves it. I've done a few videos of her driving her multi-cab after she got her driver training. Small car, 400,000 pesos up to $1 million and higher. I mentioned my Honda Civic, which I paid 430,000 for, and it's now worth much more. Pickup truck, you're looking at close to $500,000 up to 1.6, even 2.4 million. I saw for the Ford Raptor. Too much for my budget. I'd rather spend my money on property and lifestyle. And really, there's not much driving here. There's not many places to go. You don't need a big Ford Raptor. I see some expats with their Filipinas wheeling around in these giant Raptors. The roads are not that bad. And use the extra money for exploring the Philippines or just having a better retirement. Or even for a nest egg for unexpected health issues. How about that? A good resource to use is philcotze.com. I'll put the address here on the screen. And you can filter your search for different years, makes, models, new or used, and various purchase locations around the country. One person commented on my previous budget video, they bought a 2019 Toyota in Negros Oriental. I didn't ask the price they paid, but when I looked it up at philcotze.com, the price in Manila was over 100,000 pesos cheaper than in Cebu. Dumaguete was not listed for the same make, model, and year. I need to put my hat back on. Even though it's overcast, I can still feel the heat. The next miscellaneous item, SRRV, Special Resident Retiree Visa through PRA, Philippine Retirement Authority. The initial cost, the deposit that you put into the US PRA bank account, varies depending on the visa category that you are eligible for. This could range from $1,500 US up to $20,000. Mine was US $10,000. Plus the following costs that are paid in Manila when you bring your completed documents to the PRA. The initial application fee is US $1,400, extra if you have spouses or dependents, plus you have to pay the first year's fee, which is $360. That's a recurring annual fee. Another item I didn't include, laundry. The lowest budget item, I didn't put anything. You should do your own laundry. My mom taught me how to do laundry when I was a kid, and it's easy to do. The other budgets, where I've included a helper, there's not much extra here that you need to do because there's no extra cost. They'll take care of the laundry for you. But everywhere around the Philippines, they have a drop-off service like in other countries. It's quite cheap, but many Filipinos prefer to wash by hand. Although you can also buy a home washing machine at a low cost from $8,000 to $20,000. Fancier ones are more expensive. And remember, when you're in retirement, your laundry shouldn't be that big of a deal. T-shirts, shorts, flip-flops, a bucket sun hat with flowers that one new friend commented. He almost skipped my video because he didn't like my hat, but you need a bucket hat. Sorry if you don't like it. I love it. And more importantly, my dermatologist approves. Initial setup. As I noted earlier, one person commented on my first video that this is a factor to consider. Everyone will have extra costs when you arrive and getting established. Perfect example to demonstrate this. When you arrive, what place do you choose to live in? When I first came to Dumaguete, I booked 3 nights at the Fiesole Residence Inn, and by day 2, I had already found my place to live. So many places in Dumaguete and all over the Philippines, there's no need to book and pay in advance over the internet. And also, I wouldn't recommend relying on the photos. It's better to come see the location and see the neighborhood. You'll be much happier for it. Rent a furnished apartment. That'll really cut down on your initial costs. I did a poll on my channel about what is your retirement monthly budget, and I set out the 500, 1,000, 2,500, 4,000, and I even put it higher. So have a look at the results, and we'll get into these budgets. Drum roll, please. Here are the 4 sample budgets, starting with the $500 budget. Here you go. I'll expect to get comments on this one. The key with this one is you're keeping your housing costs to a minimum. I still included a good food budget, so you're able to stay healthy. If you want, you can cut back on entertainment to increase your housing budget. But as I noted, I don't recommend this budget unless you have higher income that you are saving for future expenses. With regard to the phone, it's doing the prepaid option. Internet, it's prepaid also. Transportation, it's just taking public transportation. And I put, as I mentioned earlier, I put 0 for the helper. Next, let's look at the $1,000 budget. What does this give you? Well, it allows you to have a nicer apartment, a bit better food. You can get more if you want to reduce your entertainment, and or you don't need a helper. I included a stay out helper here 3 times a week. With the entertainment, you're going to have enough budget for a local vacation each month, which is a nice thing to do, exploring your area. Or if you don't do it every month, save up a couple months and you can fly somewhere and go for a couple days. You can fly to Bangkok for $200, so keep that in mind. The other items here that are different with the phone, I've got which is what I do, better internet, transportation, assuming that you're going to be having insurance and gas. Insurance is very cheap here, 300 pesos if you get the mandatory. And as you're going through these budgets, just take your time, hopefully, and Let me know what you think. Is one of these doable for you? And could you do this budget with you and plus one? Or I noted in some comments, some guys are on Cebu, living in communities outside of Cebu City, having a relatively low budget for 3 people. Good quality of life, so you can do it. But you've got to really cut back on other things. No car, for example. The $2,500 budget. This gives you a great lifestyle. Really nice place to live, eating great, enjoying life with entertainment. You can get away 1 or 2 night excursions every month, or as I mentioned, do it every other month and go somewhere for 3 or 4 days, or go to another country once in a while. Your phone plan, I included 2 phones, assuming you have a plus one. Keep in mind, when you're talking 146,000 pesos, that's more than a doctor or lawyer makes in the Philippines. So that's a lot of money, keeping things in perspective. The last budget, the $4,000 budget, obviously much nicer housing, better eating budget, utilities are higher. My friends with a lot of money spend more on air conditioning than I do. Phone is similar to the $2,500. It's a plus one situation, thinking you have 2 phones. Better internet, transportation costs a bit more, but having a nicer vehicle, more expensive to maintain and to run. Entertainment, a nice number for entertainment per month. Included a live-in helper, not expensive, especially out in the province. Your life very easy. So what's your retiring like a king number? Do any of these budgets suit your needs? Remember, your retiring like a king number will be different than mine, will be different than the guy sitting next to you on the plane over here, and will definitely be different than the vlogger sitting on his couch who's been here for years telling you the cost of his living. That's not relevant for you when you're starting out in the Philippines. Also, have you seen the videos for $500 a month? It is possible. As I set out in the budget, you can do it. It's one that I don't recommend. Although, when I started out, when I was single, had no transportation, had small rental apartments, I didn't spend a lot of money on food, had the small bar fridge. I had a very low budget number. Many of you will find these numbers easy, and obviously these are just estimates, and you can adjust categories which suits your needs. For example, I included a higher number for groceries and eating. I think this is important in your retirement, having a healthy budget and not skimping on your food. Having a healthy diet affects your health. You don't want to be like some people I know, don't eat properly and drank too much and end up not having a healthy retirement and not living. If you still think it's too much, you can cut it, you can add it to your housing budget, you can add it to your entertainment budget, or better yet, why not put it away and save it as a nest egg? Then you can pay cash for transportation down the road. You can decide whatever is most important to you. This is just a guide. In conclusion, we all have different wants, needs, and expectations in our desired retirement lifestyle. We all have the ability to make choices though. Where we choose to retire is one of those choices. If you are considering the Philippines, I hope you come and visit this country and don't just sell everything and move here on a whim. At least come and see a few islands to see the different options available to you and the various costs that will factor in for your desired lifestyle. For me, it's clear I could not have the lifestyle I have here in the Philippines on the same budget back in Canada. I have met many expats over the last 6 years who have said the exact same thing. They are here because they can't afford their retirement. Living anywhere on a budget is not easy, but I guarantee you any dollar for dollar comparison living in the Philippines can be much better than where many of you are currently living. Are there other options in the Philippines? Of course there are, and I encourage you to explore them. Find the best place that suits your needs. You deserve to find that for your retirement. Is it perfect here? No, but no country is perfect. If yours was perfect, you wouldn't be considering moving to another country for your retirement. And that's why I tell people, come and check it out. And if you can visit other countries, Thailand, Vietnam, maybe even Panama, like one of my friends moved to, and do a comparison for the place where you would prefer to retire. Have you ever bought a condo or a house? Didn't you look at a number of places? So why not do the same when you're considering your retirement location? But be careful. A warning about the Philippines. I came here for my first vacation in 2017, and I fell in love with the country. In 2018, I retired here. The same may happen to you. Some of you will already have an established relationship when you make the move, but many will be like me. When I arrived in 2018 single, no kids, retired, life was good. If you already have a plus one or more, hopefully not too many more, for a single person or you and a plus one, careful budgeting and a resourceful mindset, it is very possible to have your dream retirement with a budget that you're comfortable with. On the first budget video I did, so many of you gave excellent tips on how you do it, even with growing families. They showed the choices they made, and with great discipline, how it can be done if you really want to retire here on a budget. Remember, it's all about making smart choices and prioritizing your expenses to make the most of every dollar. Just to be clear, some have commented it's very easy to be under a certain dollar figure. Based on my 6 years experience here, I wouldn't say it's easy, but I would say it's possible. But you need to be disciplined in the choices you make and stick to your budget. And to repeat, as someone mentioned in one of my comments on the previous budget video, this is your budget for your monthly expenses, not your monthly income. Your monthly income should be higher. You need that higher income so you're able to deal with unexpected things that arise in life. We can't predict everything. and it'll give you freedom to modify your choices as we gain retirement experience. I set out the $500 budget, as I mentioned. Many think they can do this. As I noted in my survey, 15% pick this amount. Again, I wouldn't recommend it, but it is highly doable if you're single when you're arriving with no transportation, low housing costs. You can have a pretty good retirement. But for many expats, that single and quiet life change very quickly once they arrive. But if your budget is $500, please don't sell everything and move over here. Come here on a holiday and make sure it's a realistic option for you. You can have a very cheap holiday here while you're exploring. There are many people who come here with unrealistic expectations and end up getting in trouble, having to go home, or having serious health concerns because of their budget. Unfortunately, many examples like this, and most of them end up blaming the Philippines for their negative experience. I asked this exact question in a poll. Here are the results. Once you are here, some of you may decide you want more comforts in your retirement life, and you may have the resources to increase that budget. Similar to what I did after living on a very low budget when I lived at the beachfront cottage in 2019. I agree with that plan, but you can still use the other 3 budgets to give you a realistic target as a guide in determining what level you need to live like a king in your retirement. The power is within you to hit your target and stick with it. You can do it, just choose wisely. One thing to do is to learn how to say no to any situation that arises that doesn't fit within your budget. What is your magic number? I'm confident, with discipline, everyone can live your version of retirement, of living like a king in the Philippines. Do you agree that you can also do this on a much lower number here than you could in your home country? In the first video, there were some comments about people saying they could live cheaper in the United States. I'm happy for them, but I toured the United States and Canada for 6 weeks last year, and I don't see how it's possible, especially knowing the quality of life I have here in the Philippines. Yes, you could live cheaper in any country, but at this quality of life, I don't think you could live cheaper. Please share your experiences and tips in the comments. You don't have to be a salty old retired vet. Even new arrivals have great tips for all of us to learn. I learn all the time. I came here for 4 visits while I was working. Started out with 7 days for my first visit, and then I went to another country for 7 days. And then I did 3 more longer visits, the longest one being 30 days. One guy I follow came here a number of times, met a Filipina. They went back to the States while he was still working, and then they built a house over a few years. So he was building his house while he was still earning income in the home country. That's a great idea. I wish that's something I had done. Once he was ready to retire, they came to their finished house, which was already paid for. It's a great plan. It reduces stress. It's a longer term solution. You're not making any quick decisions. However, we all have different routes and we'll get to similar ends. Retiring somewhere in an affordable, tropical paradise. And like anything in life, don't get too worked up, tossing and turning, going back and forth for years. Just come on a holiday and maybe make that move. And remember, nothing has to be forever. You can always move around the Philippines or try a different country, even go back home. All are possible future scenarios and good outcomes, as long as you are happy. Please take a few minutes to share your story of successfully navigating living on a budget in the Philippines, and even roadblocks you encountered. Our shared experience will help others contemplating making this move. And like I said before, I still have lots to learn after 6 years. Also, a few of you identified the area of the country you were living in. That's a great thing, and please continue to do that so that others can learn about other areas of the country that they may not have considered. Thank you in advance for your contribution to the discussion. I really want to thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you have a different opinion, that's okay too. It doesn't mean I'm wrong, doesn't mean you're wrong. It's a call to discussion. I don't claim to have all the answers. What I have is some experience, and I hope I'm helping some of you decide whether it's right for you. But the best thing to do, like I said, come here on a holiday and figure that out for yourself. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more of my retirement life in the Philippines. YouTube thinks this is a video you will like to see. Stay safe wherever you are. Take care.